something else, Starr. Why now, when we talk about assessment, a lot of times teachers will say, well, I want to see how the kids do, right? And after the fact. And that is definitely a reason to assess. But in addition to helping students to control their own growth, to be proactive in their own learning, the way you mentioned before PBL can do, what are some of the other ways we could assess, and when should we be assessing?
Okay, so first of all, I want to point out two really important distinctions. Assessment, the noun, versus assessing, the verb, are like, it's at a heart of where I think a lot of misconceptions about assessment ends up happening. Summative assessment is something you do at the end of learning so that we could see how effective our instruction was, what kids know and can do, right? But everything leading up to that summative experience is formative, a formative assessment process, not individual things, but an ongoing process that should be iterative. So if we have kids setting goals, we want the learning to be personalized. Yes, we have competencies or standards that we have to meet as educators, but I do think that every single child comes to us with a different set of skills and different levels on things, regardless of whose class they've been in before yours or whatnot. So expecting to teach a room full of 34 kids the exact same way is foolhardy, in my opinion. So teaching them to be able to identify in their own learning, looking at learning progressions where they understand their own strengths, and we could have this asset-based conversation and teach them how to set goals for themselves. Then we do these small formative tasks every single day in our spaces. So if we're using the workshop model, kids have an opportunity to learn something new, and then they have a lot of time to practice using the new information. That practice, all of you listening who have those very peculiar percentage breakdowns on how grades should be, formative assessment should never be graded. I'm going to keep saying that over and over and over again. Formative assessment should never be graded. It's practice. Would you want your evaluation to be based on the first or second time you tried anything? And we do that to kids routinely.
You're right.
I've seen colleagues grade first drafts of writing, which is abhorrent in my opinion. Like, I am a writer, and I would not want to submit my first draft for a final grade. That seems cruel. The whole point of the process is to get what you need to say initially on paper and then get the feedback you need. And the learning is really in the revision. So when you think about that formative assessment process, whether you're teaching math, science, English, foreign language, whatever you're working with, the practice that's going on is where we're providing a dialogue of feedback with the students. We're getting them to really be able to look at their goals, really be able to articulate what they're doing well and where they still need work. They need to be able to talk about how they know that about themselves, that whole visible learning, where am I going? How do I know when I'm getting there kinds of things? And we